Welcome back in, guys. Trey Lowell here with Lowell Productions, and in today's video we're going to be covering a few of my favorite Final Cut 10 free plugins / effects that come built in within Final Cut, and how I kind of use and manipulate them with my footage that I shoot for my YouTube videos and some of my full-time projects coming up next. Okay, so now that we have Final Cut 10 open, let's go ahead and look at some of the footage that we have that we're going to be manipulating here with some of my current favorite effects that I use, and the added bonus being that they are for free. First effect that we're going to jump to is going to be very simple, and this is going to be Letterbox. Now, Letterbox is pretty much similar to cinematic bars or things that you see in a lot of YouTube videos. So we'll come down here in effects and start typing in letter. Grab that, we're gonna drop and drag. And one thing that I tend to like to do is stick with the aspect ratio of 1:85 to 1. That is kind of my go-to. Now, if we wanna make it really cinematic, we can go ahead and drop it down to the 2:35, and that's gonna be bringing in those cinematic bars that a lot of you guys are looking for. So effect number 2 that I like to use on a lot of my footage is actually gonna be a lighting effect. So we're gonna go to our effects tab, we're gonna go to lights, and as we kind of make our way through here, we are going to be looking for streaks. Now this one is one that I think a lot of you guys are probably familiar with, but streaks is similar to like a lens flare. So we're gonna drop and drag on our footage. Now, as you guys can currently see, it's absolutely over the top, too much flare. So one thing that we're gonna experiment with really quick is we're gonna actually bring down the amount. We're gonna bring it down to like 20, okay? Starting to be a little bit more realistic. The glow, we're gonna do the same, 20. And then here's one little trick that I want you guys to keep in mind. Up in the top right corner of all your effects is going to be basically a masking tool, and I'm gonna add a shape mask. So we're gonna come up here. It's gonna basically have this little bitty circle, which is literally gonna mean that the effect is only gonna occur within this circle. We're gonna take this circle and we're gonna drag it out so that we can have that nice lens flare all the way across. And what we're doing here is we're just going to have one simple lens flare rather than a whole bunch. So currently kind of just roaming around the shot to see what looks good. And what I kind of like is either this one right here in the middle or at the top. I think we're gonna stick to the one in the middle. And then we're actually gonna kick up the amount to 30. And we're gonna thin it out a little bit because it actually brought more lens flares to life. And we will click out of there, play it back. And now you guys can see that the lens flares appear, especially when I bring in that light in the background. So that would be effect number 2 that I like to use. Quick little other reminder, you do have the ability to change the color if you come up into the effect, that being streaks. Click on this color, we could change it to red. What I like to do actually a lot of times if I'm trying to match a color would be use the eyedropper, come in there, click on what you want it to match, and then manipulate the amount and the glow to kind of fit so that it's not a blue color in like a green background or something like that. So that's just a little reminder for you guys when using the streaks effect. And as we move into our third effect, we're going to be using the Prism effect. Now, I think a lot of you guys at some point in time have seen this effect, but let's go into our effects tab, come down to search, Prism, and we're gonna drop and drag this on similar footage that we've already manipulated with the streaks and the letterbox so that you guys can see what it does. And as we kind of scroll over, you can kind of see it brings this kind of glitchy effect. So rather than having it on this footage the entire time, what we're gonna do is we're actually going to cut out a few frames where we use the Prism effect to kind of just make it look cool and catch somebody's attention. So we will scale up, and here we go, Command B, go over one frame, Command B, Command B. So if you're wondering what I'm currently doing right here, I'm actually just making little frame by frame cuts because then what I'm going to actually go do is deactivate a couple of those, or actually deactivate the prism effect on some of them. So as you kind of move from frame to frame, it's almost like a bzz, 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 where that prism effect is only appearing on a few of those frames, and it might go one frame with prism, one without, one with prism, one without, one with prism, one without. That way you can kind of feel the effect as a viewer. So here we go. We've got a couple of shots here. We're going to deactivate the prism effect on our main shot. It's going to start here. We're going to deactivate it on the following clip. Boom. Leave it. Deactivate. Leave it. Deactivate. We'll actually do one more. Leave it. And then this one will deactivate it. So when we play it back, it should do a little bit of a bzz, bzz kind of effect here, so that you guys can see. Boom. And then if you want to see what it would look like in a longer form, we can just click it back on. And as you can kind of see, the prism effect comes in. And last but not least, we're going to actually add this to a couple of different shots. And this is one that I recommend for people that are shooting a lot of stagnant B-roll, so something that's on a tripod, but you're kind of trying to bring it to life. And that's actually just going to be simply the handheld effect. So we're going to come into our effects tab, type in handheld, put that here on this Manfrotto shot. And what was basically on a tripod or a slider, just slightly sitting there. Now with the handheld effect, it's going to scale in just a little bit. Is this just going to kind of make it look like someone was holding the camera? And I recommend that you kind of manipulate the shakiness and the distance as what you can find. Set the more you manipulate it, in a lot of cases, you can actually get it to look pretty authentic, where it genuinely did look like somebody was holding it in their hand. Especially if you're going to use the ability to kind of put the handheld effect on there and then scale in simultaneously. It almost looks like somebody was shooting a kind of real life documentary. So now that we've gone over those 4 effects, I really just want to quickly implement them on some other footage. That way you guys can see what they look like before and what they look like after. So here, let's quickly drop those settings on a few of these shots. Bringing in the Movo shot. We're going to come over here, we're going to hit Command C, which is going to copy the settings from this particular shot. We're then going to come up over to our new shot, Command Shift V. That is going to then ask us, do we want to allow the letterbox, the streaks, and the prism effect to be implemented to this shot? And I'm going to say absolutely. This is what I find is the quickest way to take some settings from one kind of camera angle or edit that you've made that you really like, and then implement it to the next shot. So Command C, Command Shift V, bam. Now those settings are on here. Need to go. And there we have it. So if we wanted to, we can eliminate those effects. Here's what we have. And now we'll implement the effects. Now I will admit the prism on this shot is a little over the top, but if we kind of manipulated it and dropped it down to say like 5, or maybe in the 10 range, it starts to look a little bit unique. Now, I wouldn't recommend putting the prism on a shot for a long, extended period of time. It's more of an effect that is used to kind of quickly make cuts and add a glitchy style look to your footage. So if we deactivate it, we'll just go with streaks here. And like I said, up in the top right corner, you have the view mask, which I'm actually gonna take this. We're clicking on ours. We're gonna scale this up and find a spot where we have a good lens. And it looks like on the mics it's hitting it nice, currently at 30%. Let's click that up to 50%, and that's going to get a little bit more of a flare. Here's without, and the shot with. Without and with, and it just kind of brings it to life a little bit there with the streaks. Now that we've kind of moved it, like I said, we'll go look at the mask, and there you go. No effects. Effects. So those are a few of my current favorite free effects that I'm using within Final Cut Pro. As most of you are probably aware, I am working in the old version of Final Cut, but I do know that these effects and the names pretty much are seamless amongst this one and the new version of Final Cut. But like I said, you have the streaks effect, the prism effect, the letterbox, and also handheld. 4 simple effects that I think you guys can implement in your footage moving forward to kind of diversify what you're shooting, how it looks, and make it look different than others. One thing that we all can do is become better editors and better shooters, and when you implement those 2 things together, you can really start making some phenomenal video. So hey guys, it's Trey Lowell with Lowell Productions, and as always, if you like this content, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like the content I keep creating on this YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I think that should be useful. Oh, and my monitor just cut out. Son of a gun. Ugh. Dunzo.